When we think about the word power, our mind automatically shifts to think about the people in certain roles as authoritarian figures, leaders, influencers, right? Now think about the things they have in common. A, their voices are heard. B, they have the confidence in their abilities. And C, they have the secret ingredient that sets them apart from everyone out there. Curious to know what that secret ingredient is? Well, I'll just spill the beans. That secret ingredient is empowerment. People in positions of power are empowered, and that is how they make things happen. Only a standalone position of power is never enough to make an impact or leave a dent in this world. Now, at some point or the other, you must have come across the phrase women empowerment. Maybe you have come across writings over big banners on social media or even across TV channels. So we have a fair idea that this is a topic which needs attention. But have you ever thought about how exactly a woman is empowered? If not, then think carefully. You will realize that it all boils down to the core of our existence. Let me tell you how. There are moments in your life when you question yourself that why am I here? Or what have I done to be standing here in this place? And in those moments, I find myself going back to the beginning, back to my roots. The following 5 different phases of my personal life contributed as the stepping stones in my journey of empowerment. Starting with phase number 1, a woman's sense of self-worth. My mother was at the tender age of 17 when she got married, and 20 when she had her first child. Growing up, I've seen her compassionate nature, her positive aura, and the unattended ambitions she sought for, but never got to turn it into a reality. You may ask why? Because she got entangled in fulfilling the various responsibilities as a mother, as a wife, a daughter, a sister, and what not, that she never got the chance to continue her education. And I want to emphasize on this. I don't think a lot of people understand that, but perceiving education might seem normal. But where I come from, Bangladesh, and a lot of developing nations around the world, more often than not, it is an exception. It is actually a privilege. To go to school is a privilege, education is a privilege. So they find a better so-called option and get girls married, which they think of as easing of the burdens from their shoulder. Now, marrying early refrained my mother from realizing the true sense of her self-worth because her life revolved around taking care of her family only. As a result, she was financially dependent. And this was the trigger number 1 for me. It is true that even before our complex cognitive system develops in humans, our interactions with our primary caregivers, which is mostly our mothers, expose us to a paradigm of feelings and influence the way we see ourselves later as adults. And as a child, as free-spirited as I am, I've always liked my independency. It is only in the later years when I realized the importance of a woman's sense of self-worth that shapes a woman and also a mankind, the destiny of a mankind. Phase number 2, determining your choices. As a high school student, I had my share of highs and lows. And the lows went really, really low when I did horrible in one of my exams. I tried explaining it to my parents, but I just could not. Those of you know that Asian households are never in the mood to listen to your mistakes and failures, to be precise. Only when you have good news to tell or achievements to share, they're there to listen, and very proudly. And it was the same in my case. Now I had 2 choices. Either to sit there in misery and dwell in sadness, or be proactive and get out of the situation. Guess what I chose? Being proactive. I started tutoring students, and when I could save enough to pay for my examination fee, I retook the exam. As easy as it might sound, but it is not easy for a lot of girls out there simply because they have been raised in such a protective and controlled environment that they often forget that it's essential for them to be out there determining their choices. Because few years down the line, you will have to make your own life decisions. And trust me, there's no way out from there. Similarly, my decision to come to Thailand almost 3 years back was not easy. People around me were concerned about my exposure to freedom. After all, can a girl handle her freedom carefully and responsibly enough? And such is the notion of the society where I come from. But I knew it was the time to follow my dreams that I have dreamt for years, come what may. I have determined my choice, and I believe so can the many other women in hesitance. A year back from now, my life moved fast-paced, and I felt an urgent need to pause for a moment. If I had to describe my life at that point, then it would definitely be chaotic. I needed to reflect back on my life so that I could prepare well for the future. And when I paused, I realized I didn't do any such thing that defined me as the person I am. We live in a generation where we get access to everything at our fingertips. Yet, we lack awareness and become neglectful to our inner callings. As a result, we slowly get detached from the spiritual awakening that acts as the binding factor in bringing us closer to our real selves, our truest selves. And this awakening was brought to me by WeDo, a social enterprise that envisions a world where half of all leaders are women. The 2 months of long intensive leadership and developing program undoubtedly widened my horizons and brought me closer to my purpose. My journey as a rising star equivalent to a female potential leader of the future gave me a sense of direction and urged me to be confident in my abilities. And reflecting upon myself has been my third stepping stone in achieving empowerment. Now phase number 4. Access to opportunities and resources. A fisherman without a fishing bait is incapable of fishing. Likewise, which naturally strips him off from his identity, simply because he cannot put his skill into implementation. Likewise, when a woman is deprived of opportunities and resources, they become just another person incapable of unlocking their truest potential. When women are given the right tools to succeed, they become limitless. They shatter the glass ceilings and go beyond their margin to seek for constant appraisal. And I came to realize this when I came across every position or place where I wanted to be a part of required prior experiences, which I didn't have at that time because I was still a full-time student. Despite that, I kept searching for an opportunity that will align with my interest, and luckily, I ended up interning at a non-profit organization called Rising Youth Foundation, which mainly focuses on youth mobilization and sustainable development goals. Being part of the organization, I have learned the deeper and meaningful aspects of the societal impacts that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. And finally, phase number 5, your ability to influence. If I'm standing here today, is because I have been told by my mentors that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So don't shy away from the spotlight. The ability to positively influence through conscious thinking and effective action plans takes you one step ahead into reforming the world we live in. I may not have achieved the biggest of things in life as of yet, but my journey, our journey of stepping a stone starts with identifying these 5 key stages of women empowerment and making them an integral component of our lifestyle. This is the end of my talk. Thank you for listening.